You are nobody. Just a child with dirty feet running through the dust of a forgotten village. When the sound of wheels, that low, slow sound, cuts the air like a sentence. There is no warning, no ceremony. A black carriage, shiny as poisoned lacquer, pulls up in front of your crooked wooden house. You are 12 years old, and your name, if it ever mattered, will be forgotten. A man descends. His eyes aren't eyes, they're blades. His mouth doesn't speak, it examines, judges, calculates. He touches your face, your teeth, your feet, as if you were an animal about to be slaughtered. There's no question, no permission. When he throws a bag of silver on the ground, your father doesn't hesitate. You've been sold, not as a wife, not as a servant, as a concubine. The word still sounds too strange to understand, but your mother's silence says it all. Her screams echo louder than the farewell. You're dragged along. No one explains. No one looks back. Inside the carriage, the air stinks of sweat, fear, and old leather. Your feet sway in the dark. The road shakes your frail body. Your stomach aches. But it's not hunger. It's foreboding. The kind of pain that can't be cured with rice or hot tea. You know, without knowing, that your life ended there. And something else was born. The gates of the Forbidden City are red as dried blood. Towering. Impossible. Stone-eyed guards don't even blink as you're pushed inside. Sexless men, the eunuchs, undress you. There in front of other girls. Some cry, others tremble. You, frozen. The cold floor touches your skin as if to say, forget who you were. The inspection begins. Cold fingers feel your body. A girl next to you is discarded for having a crooked nose. Another stays because her feet are small enough to be broken. You pass, but you don't smile. You sense that passing isn't a victory. It's just the entrance to a nightmare. Your first gift is pain. The bones in your feet are bent, crushed, sewn into tiny shoes. They say the result is beautiful, that the emperor likes it. You only feel the tearing, the screams, the smell of blood, and the emptiness that begins to inhabit you. A place no one sees, but that grows silently like a crack. Inside the harem, the world is different. The walls are silk, the smiles, poison. The women look at you as if you were food, but not the good kind, the disposable kind. Here, everyone wants the same thing, to be noticed, to be called, to be chosen. What seems like luxury is just a pretty package for fear. You learn fast. Learning in this place isn't a matter of talent, it's a matter of survival. Your first task is to serve tea. The woman who receives your tray hits you, just because she took so long. Your face burns, but you hold it in. The tears dry up before they can be born. You understand that here, pain isn't an event, it's routine. And showing weakness is digging your own grave. The day has rules, the night has secrets. Sleeping is dangerous, dreaming even worse. You start hearing stories about one who spilled wine on a minister's cloak and disappeared, about another who looked at the emperor too intently and was taken away in the early hours. Here, mistakes are small, punishments eternal. You have to smile, and smile beautifully, even when you're bleeding inside. Your face becomes a mask, your body an ornament, your soul a forgotten luxury. Time stretches. A week feels like a year feels like an endless cycle. You see girls disappear, others go crazy, and some turn into shadows that float down the hallway as if they were no longer alive. One day, you hear the phrase that changes everything. The emperor asked for her. She is you. No one says it with joy. Women look at you with pity disguised as contempt. You are prepared, as if you were an expensive dish at a banquet of ghosts. They dress you, they paint you, they perfume you. Every step hurts. Your feet broken scream, but it doesn't matter. The night is long. The curtains close. You enter. He is there. The man who can elevate you or erase you. There is no gentleness. There is no desire. There is power, naked, raw, overwhelming. He touches you as if testing a piece. You tremble, but you don't scream. Fear is deeper than your voice. When dawn breaks, you're alive, but not whole. A part of you remains in that bed, a part that never returns. In the following days, nothing happens. But everything changes. You've passed. That's enough. You're no longer invisible. Now you're just a name on a list. And this, right here, is dangerous. You begin to understand the board. The pieces move slowly, but when they fall, they make a noise. A concubine smiles at you. The next day, you find a needle under your pillow. Warning, threat, or a joke? You don't ask. Learn to sleep with one eye open. Older women watch you. Some approach. Others spread rumors. They say you charmed the emperor, that you smile when you're alone, that your feet weren't really broken. It doesn't matter what's true, only what seems to be. And the more you appear, the more someone wants you to disappear. A eunuch whispers to you, "The one with the jade comb is gone. Beware the one with the rose hair." You thank him. You don't ask any more questions. You've learned. Questions kill. So do answers. One morning, one of the girls who arrived with you throws herself off the railing. Her scarf flies before her body. No one cries. No one comments. Silence is a form of mourning or protection. You feel that in that place, even the wind is afraid. You learn to keep quiet. You learn to please. You learn to pretend you don't feel what you feel. But inside you, something pulses. A kind of silent anger. A kind of strength you don't yet know how to use. One morning, you hear laughter. Soft. Too close. When you open your eyes, there's someone beside your bed, just for a second. Just a shadow. When you scream, it's gone. They don't know who it was, or they pretend not to know, but they make it clear. Next time, there might not be time to scream. You lock yourself away inside. But on the outside, you blossom. You learn to walk like a lady, to speak like a shadow, to exist as if you didn't exist. The emperor didn't call you again, but you know, once is enough. Now every step is watched. Every word carries weight. And yet you feel, deep, deep down, that there's still something inside you they haven't ripped out. A seed, a spark. You're just a girl, but inside that girl, there's someone waiting to wake up. And what will awaken can burn everything around. Because if the harem is a battlefield, you didn't come to die in silence. You came to learn, to wait, and to fight. But the real fight, that hasn't even begun yet. Time inside the harem isn't measured in days. It's measured in silences, in how many times you survived without being noticed, in how many times you hid your pain with a smile. You're 13 now, but it feels like you've lived 1,000 lives, each with a different ending, and none of them happy. You wake before the sun, your feet still throbbing from pretending not to feel. Your hands are chapped from the cold water. Your back is stiff from sleeping on a mattress that barely deserves the name. And yet you get up, because there in the palace to hesitate is to sign your sentence. Your reflection in the bronze mirror no longer recognizes you. That girl from before, the one who ran barefoot through the village, who dreamed of straw dolls, has been swallowed by silk and by eyes that judge in silence. Now, your eyes have learned to observe before speaking. They've learned to count the steps of those who approach. They've learned that listening is safer than responding. You watch the games unfolding around you as if you were outside your body. A play where everyone pretends to be friends while sharpening their knives on each other's backs. You begin to notice patterns. The concubine with the jade comb always passes in front of the empress's courtyard on Thursdays. The one wearing jasmine perfume only talks to eunuchs when no one is looking. And the new one, the one with the rosy cheeks and the overly smirking smile, walks too quickly through the corridors, as if she wants to reach the throne with her own 2 feet. Every gesture is a clue, every detail a threat, but also an opportunity. You are summoned to serve at a banquet. This, at first glance, seems like an honor, but within the harem, every honor is a trap in disguise. The senior consort who chose you doesn't smile. She dresses you as if preparing a doll for destruction. The silk presses against your ribs. The white powder on your face chokes your pores. The earrings tug at your ears as if trying to tear away your identity. You walk, limping on tortured feet, with a wine pot in your hands. The hall resembles a temple of gold and death. The nobles smile, but their eyes are blades. One of them touches your wrist with rice-damp fingers. Your skin crawls, but you don't react. Your face remains neutral, a mask you've learned to wear better than any painting. The wine flows carefully. You pretend not to notice the Empress Mother's gaze scrutinizing every inch of you. One mistake, one tremor, one spilled drop, and your head could roll. Literally. You remember a story you heard in the corridors. A concubine, long ago, sneezed during a ceremony. The emperor disliked disease. He ordered her buried alive. You don't know if it's true, but in the harem, reality matters less than what's said. Words here are ropes, and you live in a hanging camp. You serve well, very well. The consort watches you and murmurs as if offering a verdict. Not useless. It's the closest thing to a compliment you've received since you were sold. You thank her silently, and you treasure the moment like someone hiding a rare coin. Because here every small gesture can be used later, or against you. When the night ends, you return to your room, unsure if you won or simply survived. But there's one detail. On the table, there's a small piece of paper, unsigned, unowned. Just one sentence. He asked for you. The fear this provokes isn't immediate, it's slow, it settles in your stomach and grows throughout the night. Because if the Emperor wants to see you, this could be a gift, or a sentence. You spend the next day in silence. The other girls look at you differently, some with envy, others with pity. And there are those who simply disappear, as if your name has now become a burden so heavy it drives away even the rats. At dusk, they dress you again. This time, more carefully. The strands of your hair are pulled until tears come out. Your nails are painted with floral ink. The scent of perfume makes you nauseous. And when they place you on the litter, your entire body trembles. Not from the cold, but from what comes next. The corridor to the imperial chamber is too long. Or maybe it just seems so. Each step of the bearers sounds like a drumbeat. You enter. He's seated. The man who can give you a son, a title, or a grave. You kneel. Your heart beats louder than any drum. He watches you as if you were an exotic painting, and he says little. His words are velvet, but you feel the blade hidden in every syllable. You survive the night, but you don't return the same. There's something broken in you. Something that has no name, just weight. You walk differently, not because of your feet, but because you carry a new kind of silence. A silence that others recognize and respect. You become a denser shadow, a figure that frightens. That intrigues. A week later you hear the news. The concubine with the jade comb has been punished. Reason? She said too much. Someone overheard, and that someone told. And now, she's no longer among you. The news reaches you as a warning, and you understand that here speaking can kill, but so can silence, because silence screams. And sometimes being remembered is as dangerous as being forgotten. You begin to train your gaze, to learn the secret language of fans, to understand the weight of a nod. Time becomes your teacher, and patience your only weapon. You hear secrets. You see alliances forming amidst false laughter. You notice the touches exchanged between maids and eunuchs. There is an underground world within the palace, and now you begin to map it. One day, while helping the senior consort dress, she looks at you in the mirror, a second too long, and says, "You have the eyes of someone who understands," and goes back to putting on makeup. But what she said won't leave your mind, because perhaps for the first time someone saw something in you. Not beauty, not obedience, but intelligence. This changes everything. You realize that your value isn't just in your skin, your perfume, or your short steps. It's in what you see, and in what you choose not to say. And if the harem is a board game, you're no longer a piece. You'll be a player. The next day, one of the concubines drops a handkerchief. You pick it up, but don't return it. Inside is a note. Today, at midnight, in the lotus garden. You tear up the note and swallow the pieces, and go. In the garden, amidst the shadows of the lanterns, a female voice awaits you. It's May, an older concubine, one of the few who has survived longer than is considered normal. She teaches you, in whispers. She speaks of codes, of hidden roots, of alliances with servants, of how to survive even when everyone wants to see you fall. She finishes by saying, "Remember this. Here eyes lie, but actions never lie." and disappears into the early morning mist. You return to your room knowing more than you should, but with a different certainty, that you are no longer alone, nor powerless. You have a name now, a place in the memory of others. And even though you still walk on broken pieces, you're learning to cut through them. And when the Empress Mother calls you to a private tea party, no explanation, no witnesses, you know the game has changed again. But what she wants from you, that's still a mystery that could cost too much to reveal without a fight. You're 15 and you no longer expect to wake up whole. Each morning begins with the doubt, will my name be whispered in a hallway today, followed by too much silence? You've learned to live like this, like stepping on dry leaves in a minefield. But this time it's different. Something inside you is changing. Your body, your eyes, your steps. Something that isn't just fear. It's something else. A painful growth, as if your own blood were trying to break free. The mirror returns an image you don't recognize. Makeup hides the childish features, but it's impossible to ignore the new weight on your shoulders. The thicker silence between words. The curve of eyes that have seen too much. Some things only time teaches. Others only pain. The palace continues. It never stops. Not for you. Not for anyone else. The food is served punctually. The hallways are swept with the same precision every day, and the stairs remain sharp. But inside, you sense a crack in the glass, a barely perceptible sound, something about to give way. But what? You start hearing whispers you never heard before, about a concubine who was allegedly pregnant, about another who was caught with a note written in blood, about a guard who disappeared after smiling too much. But rumors are like embers, hot, dangerous, and hard to extinguish. Which of these stories is true? Then the news comes. It's official, you're pregnant. The feeling isn't joy, nor fear. It's a silent shock, as if time itself had stopped for a second before continuing to drag the minutes along like chains. A son for the emperor. An heir. This means power, right? It means security, prestige, maybe even freedom. But within the walls of the harem, nothing has just one meaning. Pregnancy also means a target, because where there's a baby, there's a crown. And where there's a crown, there's war. You try to hide it. For days you eat in silence, walk with your body hunched over, avoid the touch of the maids. But it's impossible to hide forever. Your eyes shine too brightly. Your skin takes on a new tone, and the eyes that ignored you now follow you silently. You feel it, as if every wall has ears, as if the very ground watches your steps. And then comes the first accusation, disguised as kindness. Consort, the one with the always perfect hair, the voice sweet as poison, comments, "It's a shame they're saying you poisoned the Jade Lady's tea. You don't understand. You've never touched that tea." But the doubt has already been planted. You try to fight back, but how do you defend yourself against a faceless lie? How do you prove something that didn't happen? Here the truth is worth less than the narrative, and the narrative now is, you're too ambitious, too dangerous, too fertile. The summons comes like a thunderclap. You must present yourself to the Empress Mother. It's like being summoned to the altar of death. The maids dress you in silence. The eunuchs avoid looking at you. The entire palace seems to hold its breath. You walk as if crossing a battlefield. On the outside, poise. On the inside, chaos. The Empress's room is cold. The windows are closed, but the wind seems to blow through. She sits there, her skin like ancient stone, her eyes like a moonless night. She watches him. He doesn't say anything for long minutes, he just drinks his tea. Until without changing his tone, he says, "Prove your loyalty, or sign your son's sentence." Do you answer? Scream? Beg? No. You lower your head and answer firmly, "I am innocent." Your voice trembles, but it doesn't break. Is this courage or desperation? She snaps her fingers. A eunuch appears with a whip. The message is clear. If you fail to defend yourself, you will be punished with your own body. But before the pain begins, something changes. A servant appears, agitated. In her hands, a piece of paper. It's a note, a confession. Someone saw who really made the tea. It wasn't you. The consort who planted the rumor is unmasked and dragged out with the same silence she used to smile. Her screams are trapped between the heavy curtains. You're saved. But none of this was a victory. It was just survival. A truce bought with fear. You return to your room feeling emptied. You sit on the bed. And for the first time in weeks, you cry. Not out of weakness, but out of fury. Because now you understand what the game is. And you know you're playing. The belly grows. The body changes. And you change with it. Learn this. In the harem, you don't age. You transform. Every pain becomes a scab. Every scare becomes a tattoo. You start talking less and listening more. You keep mental maps of who enters each room, of the shift change times, of the exact words each consort repeats when they lie. You're no longer a girl. You're a black box full of secrets. And then the birth, amidst blood, muffled screams, and trembling hands. You give birth to a boy, small, fragile, but real. A piece of you and him, a piece that now needs to be hidden. Because a baby can be an heir, but it can also be a target. You don't sleep. Every noise in the night is a threat. Every new maid is a question. Who sent her? Why? One day you find a dark drop on the baby's cloth. A strange smell in the milk. You have no proof, only instinct. But in the harem, instinct is everything. You throw out the milk and change the maid. No explanation. No chance to defend yourself. Not because you're cruel, but because you're a mother. This is the first time you've acted like an empress, even without a title, even without power, because your love for your son is sharper than any dagger. But what happens when love becomes weakness? When everyone around you knows what makes you vulnerable? Is protecting someone the quickest way to become a target? You begin training a faithful servant. You teach her where to hide the baby, how to escape, where to leave notes. You know you can't always be there, but you can leave trails. And that sometimes is all someone needs to survive. The news of your birth spreads. You're promoted. A small but symbolic title. Now you have a place at court, but also a place in the eyes of those who watch you hungrily. May calls you again in the garden. She says, "Congratulations, now you have everything they want, and because of that, you lost everything that protected you." You understand. Before she was just another one. Now she's a threat, and threats don't last long in the harem. The next night you hear footsteps in the hallway, figures at the window, and you find a handkerchief left on the bed, red petals embroidered on it, a warning, a reminder, or a promise of death. You hold the baby tighter, you feel the world closing in around you, but something inside you is growing too. Not the child, but the will to be more than just a survivor, to be the danger itself. Because if they want to extinguish you, they will have to learn the price of lighting too much fire in someone who learned to burn from the inside. And now, the silent war of the harem has a new player, one who doesn't forget, doesn't forgive, and will never again kneel without a fight. You are 17 years old, and everything you've achieved so far no longer protects you. In the harem, the higher you climb, the deeper the abyss watches you. Your son, still young, is your greatest trophy and your greatest risk. There are eyes in every hallway, hands that slip through half-open doors, ears attentive behind screens, and mouths that whisper with surgical precision. You've learned to sleep with one eye always open. Now begin to train the other. The Emperor no longer calls to you as he once did. His attention, as always, is volatile, and a new girl has arrived, almost a child. Fair skin, lively eyes, small, pearl-like teeth. She smiles too much. She walks quickly. She speaks softly. And everyone is already talking about her as if she were inevitable. In the harem, being young is a weapon. Being beautiful, a passport. And being innocent, a disguise. You know this. Because you were once all those things. And now you're just what's left. The new consort, with her citrus scent and soft voice, begins to circulate through the spaces that were once yours. She repeats gestures you've used. She mimics smiles. She even copies the way you play your fan. But it's not about her. It never is. It's about the Emperor, who views the world as if exchanging toys. And about the others, who see in her an alliance, or a shield. And then comes the first blow. Her son falls ill. High fever, shivering. Doctors don't come. Concubines aren't a priority when the plague stalks the palace. There's an outbreak outside the walls, and now there are rumors that the disease has entered. It's not uncommon. Every 20 years something escapes. Every 20 years hundreds die. History tells that during the previous reign 218 concubines died in 3 weeks. None were buried with honor. Not all died of the plague. Many died of starvation or were silenced to contain the panic. In the harem, disease is less feared than the fear of disease. You know this. That's why you hide your son. With the help of May and the faithful maid you've trained for almost a year, you hide the fever. You change the cloths. You feign normalcy. But every night the child's suppressed cries break you inside. You don't pray because you've stopped believing, but you speak to the darkness, as if it could hear. Meanwhile, the new consort flourishes. She laughs, she charms. She appears at banquets and distributes compliments like coins. Some believe, others just pretend. But everyone waits for the moment when she will fall. Because in the harem, everything that rises sinks. Sometimes with a push. You consider taking action, eliminating the threat. But you hesitate, and that hesitation takes its toll on you. The next morning, a note is left on your pillow, unsigned. Just one sentence. The rats know who's afraid. You tear it up, burn it. But you understand, you're being watched. And not just by them. The Emperor sends for you after weeks of silence. The reason is unclear. The walk to his chambers is, as always, solemn, muffled, suffocating. He looks at you as if evaluating a memory. He touches you without urgency. He says little, but he calls you again the following night. And the night after that. The new consort notices. And with her, others do too. You feel the siege tighten. May warns you. There's a plan. Someone wants to accuse you of conspiracy. A eunuch has been bribed. False evidence will be planted. The plan is simple. Make it look like you tried to poison the emperor. You hesitate no longer. You bribe another servant. You track their steps. You discover the details. And before the plan can come to fruition, you intercept it. One of the eunuchs is arrested. The new consort falls from grace. Her screams echo for a whole day before fading away. But victory tastes bitter. Because now everyone knows what you're capable of. Your son recovers, but the fever has left its mark. He sleeps little. He eats little. He cries for nothing. You begin to realize the cost of it all. What it's like to raise someone inside a cage made of gold, fear, and silence. And you wonder, will he survive? Will he grow up without being swallowed up by all this? You hear about other mothers, concubines who gave birth to sons. Some disappeared mysteriously. Others were forced to send their sons to distant monasteries. The palace has an unwritten rule. You can't let an heir put down too many roots. May tells you about a concubine who, years ago, tried to run away with her son. They were found 3 miles from the gate. The bodies were never shown, the story was never told. But there are still those who remember. You start planning, and for the first time, you think about doing the same. Not running away, but disappearing, emptying your presence. Becoming shadow again, because being seen now means being hunted, and you have no more room to lose. Sickness is once again on the prowl. The corridors smell of vinegar and fear. Servants wear cloths over their faces. Maids avoid direct contact. And there are rumors that the emperor is ill. You don't believe it at first, but when he stops summoning everyone for a whole week, you know, something is wrong. The court begins to stir. Advisors meet in secret. Maids are interrogated. Eunuchs disappear. Some say the true heir is outside the palace. Others swear the empire will fall. You just watch and take notes. The next night you wake to the sound of galloping. Someone has been taken. A body? An order? No one knows. But fear scatters like dust in a dry wind. And you decide you will protect what is yours, even if it means leaving everything behind. You order May to prepare the boy's escape. Not now, but at the right time. A servant will be paid. Faithful soldier will accompany him. He will be taken to a distant village where no one will hear his name. You, for now, stay. The next day, a concubine disappears. They say she was coughing up blood. She was isolated. Then, erased, unceremoniously, unrecorded. You start coughing too. Light, discreet, but enough to be feared. You pretend. You smile. You stand. But inside you know something is falling apart. Your body, perhaps. Or your hope. And when you find blood on the handkerchief for the first time, you're not surprised. The Empire is sick, literally. And the harem reflects this like a cracked mirror. You wonder, how many more will fall before someone says enough? But then you remember, here no one says anything, they only whisper. And whispering is the only safe language. You begin to write, not letters, not diaries, but instructions, for your son, for May, for whoever is left. You write like someone building a shelter. Each sentence a plank, each secret a wall. And when a new concubine arrives, younger, more beautiful, more innocent than any you've ever seen, you feel something strange. Not envy, not anger, but pity. Because she still believes there's love here. And deep down, you know, there isn't. There never was. Only survival, and survival takes its toll. You're tired, but you're still alive. For now. And maybe, just maybe, that will still be enough to turn the tide. You are 22 years old. And time has left more than wrinkles on your face. It has carved you from the inside, layer by layer, like a merciless sculptor, stripping away everything soft, fragile, dreamy. What's left is stone, but even stone can crack. And the crack begins now. The plague hasn't gone away. It's only grown quieter. Like a snake coiled in a dark corner of the palace, waiting to bite again. The emperor is ill. That's what everyone says, but no one confirms. There are nights when the corridors are too empty, and mornings when no one comments on who missed breakfast. You feel the air heavier, thicker, as if every wall knows what's about to happen. The entire palace seems to be breathing heavily. You cough. It's not serious. Not yet. But you know the signs. A dry cough, a burning sensation in your chest, fatigue, and then the blood. At first discreet, then inevitable. You've learned to hide it well. You use folded scarves. You choose quiet times to walk. You know which mirrors avoid excessive reflections. But some things can't be hidden. Your eyes have lost their shine. Your skin no longer holds secrets as firmly. Your voice, once sharp, now falters on some syllables, as if even your words feel the weight of what's to come. Your son, now 5, understands more than he should. He notices when you breathe too deeply, when you hold your chest, when you're away for too long. You try to smile. You try to hold the whole world on your shoulders without letting him notice. But he sees. Because children, before they understand the world, feel it. His gaze carries a silent wisdom, as if he sees a time beyond time, and that hurts you more than the illness. He asks one night, "Are you going to disappear like Maid May?" You don't answer. You just hug him, tightly, as if that could keep you there any longer. You've spent the last few years teaching him to be quiet, to walk like a shadow, to hide questions in his eyes. But now you want him to scream, to cry, to say something that will break the silence of this prison. You want to promise that everything will be okay, but even promises have turned to poison within the palace. May remains by his side, older, more stooped, but wiser than ever. She notices everything. One day, without warning, she leaves a box under his bed. Inside, a simple unembroidered robe, a pair of worn shoes, a letter with instructions. She asks nothing. She only says, "When the time comes, don't tell, just go." Her tone is firm, but her eyes betray fear. The kind of fear only women who have survived too long can understand. You understand, and you begin to prepare what you don't want to accept. You begin to train your maid to continue the routine without you. You teach her gestures, timing, and silences. You leave hidden notes, phrases written on the backs of fabrics, marks on the windows, so that your child, when they grow up, can follow a trail, even if they never see your face again. You replay each lesson like someone carving a map into their skin, because perhaps, in the end, your greatest legacy isn't what you lived, but what you left behind. But the palace hasn't forgotten you, and as always, when you're weak, someone tries to sink you even further. A concubine, the same one who, since her youth, smiled with lips too red and a voice too honeyed, accuses you. Not directly, Not with open words, but with the right whispers in the right ears. The new story is, you cursed the emperor, witchcraft. The word is thrown like a blade that doesn't miss, and it doesn't need proof. Here, all it takes is for someone to say it, and you're already condemned. It's as if the simple act of resistance were considered witchcraft. The next morning, you are dragged away, not violently, but coldly. 4 eunuchs, 2 servants. No explanation. The corridors this time seem longer, emptier, and the ground harder. You are led to the stone courtyard, the same one where you've seen others kneel. Some screamed, others fell silent. All are gone. The wind there blows colder, as if it knows all the names that have been erased there. The Empress Mother is there, as always, still, motionless, as if she were an extension of the palace itself. She speaks softly, but each word weighs like a sentence. Confess, or your son will follow you. The sentence sinks in like poison. You feel your legs weaken, but you don't kneel. Not yet. You know you're not alone, that there are hidden truths waiting to tear away the veil of lies. You search for May. She's not there. The boy is hidden. You don't know if he's safe, if he escaped, if he was caught. And this not knowing is worse than any torture. One of the eunuchs pulls out the indictment scroll. He reads it slowly, as if savoring it. Your mouth is dry, but you still have a choice. Lie to live or die telling the truth. You choose the third option. Stand, remain silent. A scream interrupts the scene. A hurried sound. May appears. In her hands, a dark silk envelope. Inside, a letter, signed, sealed, detailing the bribery of the consort who accused you. The letter is thrown to the ground. The Empress Mother lowers her eyes. She takes her time, then she speaks. Let this serve as an example. Her voice echoes between the columns, more somber than ever. The consort is summoned. Her face drains of color. She tries to explain there's no time. She's taken right there. A quick movement, a scream, a fallen body. Blood runs down the stone like 2 red ink on wet paper. You remain there, your legs steady. But inside, you're crumbling. Because today's victory doesn't save tomorrow. And tomorrow in the palace always arrives with new traps. In the following days, you disappear from the hallways. You pretend to be undergoing treatment. You isolate yourself. And in the silence of your room, you begin to write. Not for the living, but for the son who may never read it. You write about fear, about the sleepless nights, about the names you heard before they disappeared, about the words you kept in your throat for years. Each line, a farewell disguised as a confession. It's your way of continuing to exist even after the end. One morning, you don the cloak May left behind. You put on your worn shoes. You hide the note deep in the boy's pillow. You leave the door ajar, and you walk, alone, without witnesses. The hallway doesn't stop you. The moon seems to follow you. You don't look back. There's no more time to hesitate. Each step is a farewell, but also an affirmation. You are still the master of your own story. As you leave the hidden garden, you surrender yourself to fate, but you don't run away. You return and lock yourself away, because there's something that needs to end. The pain no longer scares you. Your body no longer weighs you down, but the silence still hurts. And you want to die with your own words, not with the words of others. You start coughing up blood more frequently. You sleep little. You eat even less. The maid looks at you as if she's seen this end before. She falls silent. You thank her. The emperor sick no longer calls anyone. They say he's being kept alive by mountain roots and empty promises. You know, even gods fall. But some fall in silence. Then comes the news. A new concubine will be chosen to occupy the hall that was once yours. You are invited, not obliged, to surrender your jewels, your robes, your position. And you do so, in silence. Because you understand that losing your name is not the same as losing your history. There are names that need not be spoken so as never to be forgotten. May finds you one last time, leaves you some tea. She says little, just one sentence. You won in a way they'll never understand. You smile, a sad smile. but genuine, and that tea, simple and warm, is perhaps the only gentle thing that has touched your skin in years. That night, you lie on the bedroom floor. The mattress is thin, your body, light. You close your eyes and listen. The sound of leaves in the courtyard, a distant laugh, a hurried footstep, and then nothing. Just breathing, until it too disappears. Your last memory is your son's voice, tiny, as if from a dream. But your story doesn't end here. Because someone survived, and that someone carries your name in their eyes, your son, free, alive, growing up far from the palace, learning that being strong isn't about never falling. It's about getting up after falling 1,000 times. It's about remembering without losing yourself. It's about loving even after being denied. And you were the bridge, the shield, the seed, the woman who refused to be erased, who faced death looking it in the eye, who didn't bow even when everything around her told her to kneel. Because even if no one calls you empress, you were more than any crown could represent. You were a breath of truth within an empire built on lies. You were a ray of lucidity in a world shaped by fear. And that, no one can erase. You're 25. Your body no longer responds as it once did. Your joints ache. Your feet, mangled, swell with the slightest exertion. You breathe with difficulty, but inside you're more awake than ever. There's no more fear, only awareness. The certainty that the time you have left may be short, but it can also be the truest of your entire life. The palace continues. It always continues, even when everything within it has died. The new concubines roam the corridors as you once did, eyes full of illusion, forced smiles, hope disguised as obedience. They don't yet know they're being molded to disappear. You observe everything in silence. You're no longer called to banquets. You're no longer seen as a threat. To them, you're just another shadow. But shadows know every crack in the walls that imprison them. You hear about the court's plans. The emperor is dying, but no one can say it out loud. His death would be the beginning of chaos, and chaos doesn't organize without first devouring the weak. There are rumors of escape, of rebellion, that another son of imperial blood has been found in a distant village. No one knows for sure, and those who do pretend not to know. But you understand, everything that is crumbling on the outside has long since rotted on the inside. One night, your former maid enters silently. In her hands, a small package. Inside, something simple. A toy made of straw, a horse. One just like the one your son played with when he was little. You hold it carefully. It's just an object, but within it lies everything that matters. Your memory, your legacy, your proof that love has survived all torture. You cry, for the first time in a long time, without shame. Time slows down. Each morning is a negotiation between body and will. You no longer wake up in a rush. You no longer dress to please. Now, every step is a ritual. Every word, a choice. You speak only to those who listen, and you hear only what matters. You have become rare, and everything that is rare, even if forgotten, remains. You meet May again. She no longer walks steadily, but her eyes remain sharp. She smiles when she sees you and simply says, "He's fine." You understand, your son lives, he's safe, he's far away. But he's growing up, and that's enough. You don't need to see him to know. There are truths that can be felt, that pulsate even in absence. With this silent peace, you do what needs to be done. You write your last letter. In it, there are no requests, no excuses, only truths. About pain, about power, about resistance. You don't speak with anger, you speak with lucidity. And you leave between your words a path for those who come after, for those who want to understand that, even within hell, it is possible to keep a spark of dignity alive. The next morning, you are led to the inner garden. The air is cool but not freezing. The stars are bright. For the first time, you don't feel the weight of the walls, only the presence of everything you've built, every lesson you've taught, every life you've touched, every difficult choice you've made. You don't die that night. You slowly fade away, like a candle that knows it's served its purpose. And the very moment your breath stops, something else ignites. His son, now grown, walks the streets of a distant city. Anonymous, free, but different. There's something in his eyes that no one understands. A firm silence, a watchful gaze, a calm that frightens. He observes the world deeply, and when someone asks where he came from, he answers with a simple phrase, "I am the son of a woman who never lost her truth." And there, in that unknown, his story lives on. You, who were once sold as a concubine, became a symbol, a reference, a seed of transformation. Your struggle was not in vain. It lives on in the courage of every woman who dares to exist with integrity, in the voice of every person who chooses not to remain silent, in the gesture of everyone who protects what they love, even in the midst of fear. Now stop and think. What does all this say about you? Maybe you'll never enter a palace. Maybe your war has no silk or soldiers. But you live surrounded by invisible walls, pressures, guilt, imposed silences. How many times have you kept quiet to survive? How many times have you failed to act for fear of losing? Life demands courage. But courage, contrary to what you've been taught, doesn't shout. It's built in silence, in small gestures, in the choice to keep going even when everything tells you to stop. And if you're here, if you've made it to the end of this story, it's because something inside you recognized this truth. Then turn that recognition into practice. Take a few minutes and write down the names of the people you love. Ask yourself, what are you doing today to protect them? What trail are you leaving for them to follow if you're no longer here? Also reflect on the spaces you've occupied, the masks you've worn, the silences you've tolerated, and choose, from now on, at least one concrete gesture of resistance. It could be a conversation you've been avoiding, a project you've been putting off, a truth that needs to be told. Start small, but start. Pain, when accepted, becomes a root. Silence, when named, becomes strength. And your story, however invisible it may seem now, can become someone's turning point in the future. This is the greatest lesson of this journey. No one can erase those who dare to live truthfully, even within the coldest prison, even within the highest walls, even when the whole world tries to convince you that you're worthless. You have. And if this story touched you, provoked you, or awakened you, be part of what we are building here. Subscribe now to the Deep Psyche channel. Like this video to spread this message. And share your story, your questions, or what you're silently carrying in the comments, anonymously, if you wish. Because here, every voice matters. And every conscious step we take brings us closer to a world where truth finally will not be punished. We're together, and this story is just the beginning.